Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the Middle Eastern weather. Amazing. I actually will like the winter, so thank you. So
you're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a big honor for me to be here. Before I will start and just represent myself, I want to start with the 3 personal stories. In '94, I was studying in a high school. I was a student, grade 10. And for me, Oslo these days was the name of a place for hope, name of a place for peace, name of a place that's gonna change the reality in Israel of fighting Arabs against Jewish for many years. I didn't know how Oslo looks like, but in my vision as a child, as a youth, there was a lot of white bird around, because I know that from this place, the hope will come. And one day, after Rabin was here, I was doing my way on a bus to my high school. I missed the bus to the high school. I didn't wake up at time as usual as a student. And I missed the bus to high school. And I was so sorry, because I knew that my principal will call to my parents again and say, your child again didn't come to school at time. And I saw the bus going away, and then in 1 minute, I just saw a fire. The bus just blew up by terrorist suicide guy that blew up himself in the bus. 5 of my friends from my class died. But in my mind, I couldn't understand, how can it be? We just signed about a peace agreement. That's a hope for both sides. Why should it happen? I was still very young. And I can tell you that I wasn't the only one that didn't understand what's going on, because a couple of months ago, my dad had a very big factory. And there was a lot of people that were working for him, some of them from Gaza. One day, my dad came and told me, before Oslo, I'm going to split your room. And I asked why. He said, one of the guys that's working for me from Gaza, his daughter, she's ill. And, sorry, I forgot about the, wait. She's ill, and she has some problem in her eyes, and she needs to get a treatment in the hospital in Tel Aviv. So they're coming to live with us together, because it's close to Tel Aviv, to the hospital for 3 months. And for me, it was very natural, very humanity, to having people in your house that need any help. I had no argument with my dad. I said, of course, why not? And they waited to this peace as well as I was waiting to this peace. Now I'll take you forward a couple of years. 2000, I was in the army company commander, 120 soldiers. And then, again, talking about Ehud Barak, Camp David, and Yasser Arafat, the same guy, Camp David, about the peace agreement. As it was happening, it was the head of the Jewish year, sitting with my family, eating the holiday dinner with Norwegian salmon. And my commander called me, and he told me, listen, you have to come back. It was in the evening. I said, why? What's happened? They're going to be tomorrow a war. I told him, are you kidding? But Ehud Barak right now is in Camp David. What the war are you talking about? Camp exactly. I was sure that it's not real, that someone just waiting out of the door, waiting to laugh. But one day later, I started the biggest fight of my life as a commander. for 30 days, almost 40 days actually. I was in Gaza, a commander of the central area of Gaza, on the roads that lead to the Israeli villages. And for day after day, I faced with terror, day after day. And in the last day that other company needed to take our place, a 16-year-old was riding a bicycle, came close to me, and blew up himself. And I was injured from my head down to my legs. And again, I didn't understood how can it happen. In one place, Ehud Barak was pushing Yasser Arafat into the cabin. If you remember this picture, let's sign about the peace agreement. And here, the same people for the Palestinian Authority in Gaza fighting against us, sending them to kill us? How can it happen? The last thing, 2005, Israel decided to leave Gaza, all of the villages in Gaza, one step from our side. Here, take Gaza. Let's make the first step. We will leave all of the Jewish people. All of the Jews that was living in Gaza, you see the houses we destroy everything. That's yours. That's yours. Let's start a peace agreement. 2 months later, this woman, her name is Wafa Samir Bas. She was in her 22 years old, and somehow in her house, almost all of her body was burned because of some accident of the gas. And she asked to get a treatment, not in Gaza, in Israel. And of course, Israel opened for most of the Palestinians and the Arabs from Gaza and the Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, into Israel. Even the leaders, the biggest leaders now, they're sending their child and they're coming by themselves to get surgeries in Israel. So she got 21 surgeries in Beersheba Hospital, one of the southern city, Soroka Hospital. And then, I will let you see what happened in the time of the 22 that she wanted to come and to get her treatment. Sorry. No.
שאלת ומסבירה מיד. זוהי וואפה סמיר, צעירה בת 21 מג'באליה, בתוך מסדרון הבדיקות הביטחוניות של מחסום ארז. המצלמה שמתעדת קבועה כל הזמן. השיחות איתה מתנהלות באמצעות רמקול. בשלב הזה היא כבר חשודה, והיא נשאלת לשמה ועונה וואפה סמיר איברהים בס. לאן את רוצה להגיע, היא נשאלת ומסבירה מיד. יש לי אישור רפואי, הנה, שימו לב לנייר שהיא מוציאה. היא אומרת, אני צריכה להגיע לבית החולים סורוקה. עוד נחזור לדרמה במחסום ארז, אבל עכשיו לבית החולים סורוקה. לפני חצי שנה נכוותה וואפה בביתה מהתפוצצות בלון גז. הטיפולים הרפואיים בעזה החמירו את מצבה, ובהתאם להסדרים הקיימים ניתן היתר ישראלי להעבירה בדחיפות לבית החולים סורוקה בבאר שבע, למחלקה הזו, לטיפול בכוויות ופלסטיקה.
התחושה היא תחושה קשה. אני חושב, ולא משנה את דעתי, שיש קווים אדומים גם בטרור, וקו אדום זה בית חולים.
וואפה בשלבים הראשונים עוד ניסתה להסתיר את מטען הנפץ. אין לי שום דבר, היא אמרה, אני רוצה להגיע לטיפול. מי ששוחחו איתה התרשמו שהייתה קרת רוח, גם כאשר היא נדרשה להסיר את בגדיה. קרת רוח אמרנו, אבל מאוד נחושה. פעמיים היא ניסתה, הנה כאן, להפעיל את המטען כשהיא חובטת על מתג ההפעלה על ירחה. וכשאין פיצוץ היא משמיעה קריאות אכזבה בנוסח, אני לא מאמינה.
האוכלוסייה הפלסטינית יורה לעצמה ברגל.
פיגוע של חולה אמור לפגוע באוכלוסייה הפלסטינית,
And this is the guy that's responsible for all of the relationship between the army, between Israel and the Palestinians. Say, now it's going to hurt everyone because what she's doing, she's just making us all the time to check everyone and be...
זה מה שאמור היה להתפוצץ היום בבית החולים סורוקה. מטען נפץ בין 10 קילוגרמים שאותו אמורה הייתה להוביל לבית החולים, מי שקיבלה שם טיפול באמת...
So, my biggest question again was, how can it be? How can it be that time after time, when we given a hand, we got back a slap? And I have a bad news for you. In this generation, unfortunately, that's not going to end. It's not going to end because we have, in this generation, I pray to God that it will change, a clash, a fight between a culture that see the fight against Israel as a reason, and a culture that see the clash, the fight as a result. When there is one that see the fight against Israel as the reason for life, and I will show you more examples later, and the other see it as a result, that will never work together. So, my name is Yaron Buskila. I grew up in Ashdod. It's a city south of Tel Aviv, between Ashdod actually to Gaza. And as any young boy, I joined Israeli boy. I say unfortunately, but I'm proudly, I joined the army because being a soldier and holding a gun is not something that you need to wish to. It's not meaning of life. In my family as a kid, my father didn't let me play with games, video games that you shoot people. He all the time says shooting people is not a game. It's not like to kill people. But it's necessary when you live in Israel to serve in the army. So I joined the army as 18 years old in a special elite unit. And I did all of the role beginning as a soldier, and I retired from the army 2 years ago. I was the second of command of the division of Gaza, and I injured 3 times in the army. First time in Lebanon, very badly. Second time in Gaza, and third time, and I will tell you about this story because it's a very meaningful story, in the Jordan Valley when a terrorist infiltrated into a Jewish valley, but I will finish with this story. And I was as well the operation officer of Judea and Samaria, all of Judea and Samaria division for a long time. So I'm very well known about what happened and what's happening there right now. Then I was a special operation officer. I was responsible for all of the undercover unit, all of the elite unit in Israel. And right now, in the reserve unit, as a reserve officer, I am the special operation officer of the Depth Command. Depth Command is all of the operations that going out of the borders in Israel. And let the imagination take you to wherever you want. I came here with the name of the IDSF. IDSF is a group of thousands of officers, high-rank officers, that Colonel Amir Avivi, he established this group, and he established it because he understood that there is a big ignorance about the reality, the real reality, with youth and with all of the people that living in Israel, even Arabs, especially Arabs, and I will talk about it later, and even with the leaders and from the world. You know, I've been in England 2 years ago. I was going there to give a lecture about almost the same things, same topics. And as I was getting into the room, everybody would say, "You are murderers. You are killing all of the Palestinians. Why are you doing siege around Gaza?" And I say, siege around Gaza? So I think like the guy that was shooting more than everyone, I say, first of all, let's start with a simple question. Can you show me on the map where Israel is located? Not so much. Do you know who are the countries that surrounding Israel? Iran, in the border, Afghanistan, not even one. Do you know that Gaza have a border with Egypt? No way. Gaza has a border with Egypt? Yes, Gaza has a... Okay, so if Gaza have a border with Egypt, so what? So it's not a siege. What about the Egyptian? Why they're not opening the border? Almost 50% of the people that living in Gaza are Egyptian. Why they don't care about their people? So wait, before you coming to speak about Israel, and we have a terror between Israel and the Palestinians, what about the Egyptian? Arab nation, 50% Egyptian, 50%. Why you don't speak about them? Ignorance. Ignorance. And when you don't have the detail, you don't know the fact, everybody can take your mind right to left, just mix your ideas because you don't read, you don't understand, you haven't even visited. You know, one day I was speaking with the officer, the armor officer of the Navy SEALs, Navy, not Navy SEALs, the Navy in the United States. They came to Israel, and he wanted to see the north area of Gaza. So there is a special hill next to the border, and he was standing on the hill holding a map, and I showed him and say, "This is Gaza, 800 meter Sderot. That's the border. 800 meter? You look at the map, you look at Gaza, and again in the map, how can it be? But the map didn't match to his imagination. How can you defend a country 800 meter from terrorists with tunnels that they get to Israel? When you don't stand on the hill and see the thing in your eyes, you can never understand. The news can take you everywhere. So that's what I'm doing in IDSF. That we're doing it. We're trying to explain the reality in many ways to youth. We are going to almost every young kid when you get into 18 years old before you join the army, to explaining about, first of all, about the reason why you're going to the army. When you don't have a reason, if you don't have why, you will serve as, you don't know even why you're going there. When I was in Lebanon with my soldier, and they complained that it's very hard to take the bags on the back. Why? I said, look back. You see the light? That's the reason why we're doing that. No other reason. We need to defend our people. So first of all, we're speaking about Zionism, about Israel as a nation. We are not living in this country because we got permission from the UN. We're not someone that stole a land and get a permission to be a stealer. This is our land. This is our people. This is our place. That's the first reason. So we speak with the youth and we explain in the reality. Second, we work a lot in the media. The media is like one of the biggest things that molding the minds. So we are going to the media, and since the media knows that we are very professional and we come from the field, I wasn't serving as responsible for dishing the plats in the army. I was officer in the Judea and Samaria, so they want to hear our opinion. And people start to ask questions. Wow, we didn't knew that. Third, we're talking about leaders from all over the world. 3 months ago, I've been in Washington, D.C. I came to Washington, D.C. to explain them why it's bad for them to make, they wanted to establish in Jerusalem a diplomat center just for you. I believe that you maybe heard about it in the news, consul for the Palestinians. And I told them, from the senators, that's bad for you, America, leave Israel. Bad for us? How can you say that it's bad for us? We have the CIA, the DIA. What do you know that they don't know? So we gave them a papers. You see why it's bad for you? And I remember one of the senators that we catched in the street, and I gave the paper, and he was, nobody told me that. Nobody in America never ever told me that this is bad for us. 2 weeks later, they cancel it because they know that it's bad even for them. They don't really care about Israel as they care about their interest. And then we're speaking to our leaders in Israel, in the Knesset, in the Parliament Center, and explain them about our idea. And they want to hear a new opinion, an opinion that see the security of Israel not for today and not for next week or next month, for 100 years from here. It's not about a politic. It's not about agenda. When the politics come first and the security comes second, so you have to take the security and say, okay, I give out about this, I give it about this, because first of all, we have agenda, then security. But if the security comes first and say, that's the border, that's what's important for Israel, that's our necessary, now you can take any politics that you want. But don't break it, because if you break it, nobody can live here. No good economy, no nothing. Just think about Netherlands. What the first thing that is important for them before they start even to speak about economy? That the water will not flow. They will have, all of the borders, so the water will not take all of the country. But what if they say, no. First of all, finance. Then we think about the water. It can't work. So for us, the borders and the Arab and the terrorists around, that's the water of Netherlands that they can take all of this country. And last thing that we're doing is about research. Because when we want to talk and to speak to others, you have to give proofs, to teach, to learn, to investigate, and to research, and to give. So we have a lot of professors and doctors. I'm doing my PhD right now, and we explain them and show them the real details. It's not only opinion, it's opinion that's based on details. So we're doing that when it comes to a law, explain about the law, because even if you want to change something, say, we can do it. I mean, nobody in Hague we thought that it is wrong. That's the international law. And of course, any decision of politician when it's come to security. So, how can it be that the biggest hope become to be, that the biggest hope become to be to organization that call a PA that actually they're not dealing about trying to bring peace. What they're trying to do is trying to give or to bring to the world a war against Israel. What's happened? Where it starts from? And how can it be that this guy is actually a guy, it's called in a group, it's called Tanzim. Tanzim, it's a group that Yasser Arafat created after he signed about the agreement. He say, okay, I have to have officers, like the Palestinian officers. It's kind of an army, but I have to keep the fight against Israel. So he took some other group, pay them salary, and say, you still fight with Israel, I will have my officer, I will have my soldier that keeping about everything like the Palestinians, but in the same time, I have to keep and to fight against Israel. And the big problem was that everybody was addicted to the reality, to the dream that the peace is going to come. Listen to that. When Israel decided to leave Gaza Strip, we all talked about that there's going to be a Singapore in Gaza. We believe that. We could imagine that. You know that that Gaza have 7 twin cities in the world. One of them is Torino. Second is Barcelona. Does Gaza look like Torino and Barcelona? I don't know if you're old enough to see the movie of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito from the movie Twins. That's the difference between Gaza and Torino. And you know that Gaza had money double than Torino, $3.5 billion every year. Where is it? Why is no even one new hospital? Why is there not even one new road? One new kindergarten? It's all went to the pockets of the leaders and to the underground tunnels. Nothing to the community. 70% of non-working people in Gaza. 70%, it's insane. Insane. All of the water, the electricity that they have now, coming from Israel. We still support them, and they're our enemy. So the officer in the IDF really believed that that's what it going to be. So you know what we did? We built a new command, like Gaza Command Brigade Division, that look, how can I describe it? Like a kindergarten in Norway. No shelter, no nothing, nothing. And we took all of the division and we cut it in 50%. We don't need any officer, like we've been before. It's going to be peace. The Shin Bet is the intelligence unit of Israel, start to fire agents, start to fire people and say, it's going to be peace. Who need agent in Torino? Who need agent in a place that's going to be, I don't know, that maybe all of the Israeli will go there and start to vacations. But the reality prove again and again that's what they're going to do. They're not willing for peace. So in 2000, after a couple of terror activities, the last one that changed the game was a suicide guy that blew up himself in the Passover holiday in a restaurant. And this night, Israel decided with Ariel Sharon, that was the Prime Minister of Israel, to go into a big operation inside Judea and Samaria against the PA. So you know that. But what you don't know, that during this operation, we took 10 tons of document. They didn't burn that. But since we fired so many intelligent agents and so many, all of the intelligence unit was closed, there was nobody that could read it. So the army started to bring in new people again. Just read the document. And we saw that in every document, one after one, that Yasser Arafat paid for terror and all the time just keeping the terror. Command on a letters, on a document. He didn't even try to hide it. One of the amazing things that when Oslo, when Rabin signed about Oslo agreement, one of the leaders today in the PA, he was an officer then, I cannot mention his name, he came into one of the IDF bases, and he ran to one of the commanders, the highest commander, and he said, "You're stupid," the Israelis. So why? What are you talking about? And now he's one of the biggest leaders in the PA. "You're stupid. You know why? Because you're going to bring not war only on yourself, even about us. You cannot believe to Yasser Arafat. For him, that's the meaning of his life. It's going to be hell." People was laughing. I've been told, I haven't been there, I was just a student. All of the officers was laughing. "No, just care about his money. He just care about himself. We don't want to change his position." And he was right. And we were wrong. So, by the time Israel waited that Yasser Arafat will die, we believe that when Yasser Arafat will die, that maybe he is the main reason for taking all of the PA and all the time trying to break the rules and to fight against Israel. And then Mahmoud Abbas, that he was just a politician, even not from Judea and Samaria originally. His heritage is not from there, not from Gaza. Maybe he will bring the change. He look nice, with tie and jacket. He never wear a uniform like Yasser Arafat till his last day, even after all of the agreements, maybe he will bring the change. But what he did, he is responsible right now for one of the biggest mistake that he could do for his people. Because right now, he's paying for taking, he decided that he don't want to fight and to show that his people fight against Israel. But he do it in a very sneaky way, and now he's going to lose everything to the Hamas. Because he chose in a one way, he didn't understand that he's building the Hamas while he keeping the people so poor because he invests all of the money in fighting in Israel, but it's called the 10 principles of fighting. And I will show you what I'm talking about. The first thing that he did, starting here, is to start and work about the youth. That's a paper. There's many like that. You just go on the website. I just chose one. That's a paper of book, kids grade 4. And that's how they see, and that's how they got the questions about math, and about learning the language, and about whatever you want. All of the Palestinian, the youth, till now, even the Palestinian in Jerusalem, they're learning all of the education of the PA. And he tried to grow up kids that one day will be a warrior. Kids without any hope. Kids that will remember this picture. I don't know what picture do you remember when you were a child in the school. But just think about for 10 years old children, that's the hope that you see. And unfortunately, 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago, there was a wave of terror in Israel. 10 kids in the age of 9, 8, 11 tried to stab Israelis. How can kids in this age risk his life? First of all, for the life, this is the meaningful thing in the world, to go and to stab Israelis. He knows that maybe he will be shot. He will know that maybe he will lose his life and take other life. How can it be? The second thing is supporting terrorist families. When I was a special operation officer, I was the third one to get into Fogel family. I don't know what the name Fogel family says to you, but there was a village in Israel, in the north of Judea and Samaria. 2 guys in the age of 19, 18 infiltrate into this village, and they broke into one house, and they saw family that after the Shabbat dinner sleeping. Mom and dad, 3 months old baby, and all of the kids sleeping in the bed. So first they went to the bedroom. They killed the mom and the dad. They stabbed 3 months old baby, and then they just took a knife and just killed all of the child in the house. Their daughter, the biggest daughter, wasn't at home. She came back home, like Friday night, a group, and they get inside and saw all of our family like that. I was not so far away from there in my base in the command, and I just heard in the radio that something happened, and I went there, and I saw the picture. Horrible the picture. And then 1 month later, they took me to the jail to investigate them, to learn about why, not why they did it, why they choose this way, not this way, because we wanted to learn about how and they were so proud in what they did. The only thing that was really they was care about one was care about his girlfriend, that maybe she will find someone else, and one was care about his next salary that he needed to get from the bakery when he worked. That's what they were concerned. They grow up like this. And then I learned that every one of them, the PA paying to them, and not only to them, to their families, to keep on doing that. So everyone that have a very miserable life in the Palestinian Authority is, okay, I have a miserable life, I can be in jail. In the Israeli jail, you can learn to make your BA, MA, doctor, better food, everything you can get. More, it's amazing. Soldiers in the IDF have less opportunities than someone that murder and make a terror activity is in jail, terrorist. And then doing that, and they know that their family will get so much money from the PA. So that encourages them to keep on and on. Third thing, the PA decided that they're going to take around 20 points in Judea and Samaria, that they will keep the clash against the IDF. Why? We call it in the IDF, I was as operation officer, the 420. 420, it means in any point like that, there is 100 people that coming. 20 people are just from the press. 20 people are just adults that encourage the youth, go and smash and do all of the problems. 20 people, very left wing, from the very left wing people in Israel that encourage them and give them money, go out, leave your house and do all of the riots. And 20 children. That's how we look. 20 points, more than around 16 years, like that, every week, day after day. Why? Because they need the press to show the world we are still fighting. And the government want to show to the people, no worry, we still have a dream that one day there will be no Jewish, we're still fighting. We want you to see a picture of fights. The Shaheed. The PA encouraged people to die. You know who is this guy? His name is Ahmad Tibi. Ahmad Tibi is a parliament member in Israel. Parliament member in Israel. You know, look what he says. I will translate it for you. There is some people here that can read Hebrew, so they can.
في تاريخ الشعوب ونضالاتها يحتل الشهيد قمة المجد لا قيمة عليا فوق الشهادة. الشهيد هو الذي يفتح الطريق، هو الذي يسطر.
Do you know how to? Never mind. I will just explain in my language. So, what he said. Sorry. What he said, that to be shaheed, to be someone that killed, blew up himself, making a terror and died, this is the biggest thing that every Palestinian can just wish in his life. Parliament members in Israel, Arabic, saying, I want to tell all of you, in the history of the world, everybody was fighting. But being just a soldier is nothing. If you want to have a meaningful life, you should go and die. So we see the living as the holiest thing in the world, to save everyone, to live, to have good life, and he see the death as a destiny, as the biggest thing that you can wish. And he said that the parliament member in Israel, if you want a meaningful life, meaningful life, you should choose the death. One more thing is about the law. Benny Gantz was the chief of the staff in Israel. Now he's the minister of the security, of the defense of Israel. A couple of months ago, okay, I'm about to finish. A couple of months ago, he met with Mahmoud Abbas, the prime minister of the Palestinians. And they was talking about, for Israel, to let them the option to bring more guns into the PA, because they have a lot of problem with the Hamas. We don't have time to talk about it between the PA and the Hamas, so we'll just say in a word, but give them more money, more guns, more grenades. One day later, Mahmoud Abbas sent a letter to Hague to say that Benny Gantz should be in jail. And time after time, they're suing Israel about crimes that we're doing, and never ever the prime court in Hague said even one word about the crime that they're doing to their people, even not to Israel. I'm not talking about Israel. To their people. You know, in 2007, 1.5 years after we left Gaza, do you know what happened in Gaza? All of the PA from the Fatah side start to run to the border, Palestinian, and say, save us from the Hamas. Because there was killed them in the street, throwing from a high building. Why? Because they are less religious. They don't believe in fighting against Israel like we believe. We believe that we need to do everything. They believe to start with negotiating and then fight. They start to kill all of the leaders of the Palestinian Authority. And they was running to the fence and say, save us. In the Hague, they never talked about it. They never talked about all of the money that they're taking from their people. And that's what encouraged the Hamas to be the leaders right now. They never talked about all of the rapes that the PA doing to their own women in the Palestinian Authority. Unfortunately, when I was a special operation officer, sometimes we were looking for very special night binoculars when we were doing some activities, military activities, and we saw in the other places, but it wasn't like our area, that how many times Palestinian officers was taking and grabbing women from the houses and taking them for themselves. One more thing, you know, this is in Jerusalem. I don't know if you've been in Jerusalem. You know about Al-Aqsa? Al-Aqsa, one of the places where we are not allowed to pray. We're barely allowed to get in. One of the places that hided more terrorists than any other place. Guns. Everyone that just made a terror activity was running to there, hiding in special holes under the ground. They were hiding some of the terrorists in their jail. We call it the sweep door. Like they're putting them in jail and then they let them go out. One more thing. You see, Iran, Egypt, Karine. Karine is the name of a ship that Yasser Arafat, it's amazing, in just a couple of months after we thought about a peace agreement, we told him you can have guns, everything that you need to keep your society, but not RPG and not TNT. You don't need that. Big ship with many anti-tanks rockets. Many anti-tanks rockets that we catched in the sea, and we tried to put it to bring it into the PA. Sorry. And I'm about to finish, and I just want to say one more thing. Sorry. Okay, never mind. So, David Friedman, the American ambassador of Israel, he said just before he finished his role, the Palestinian Authority have to choose. They cannot be, in one hand, a formal authority that want to make have diplomatics people to deal with politics, and in the other hand, doing a terror. They have to choose. Since they didn't choose that, right now, Mahmoud Abbas is now 87 years old, with a lot of healthy problems. All of the assessments say that once after he died, he will die, one day, I don't know when, the Hamas going to take control about all of the Palestinian Authority, because he took all of the money and he invested in terror, and he didn't invest it in his people. So what the Hamas did all of these years, they built themselves about the poorness of the people. They created a kindergarten. They created a school. They created everything that the people there need. And the other hand, they become very stronger and stronger when it's come to being a terror. And now the people of the Palestinian Authority, there's no election in the PAS. I don't know if you know, but more than 17 years of no election. Why? Because every time they're doing a survey, they see that the Hamas is going to win. So they don't win doing election. But once they're going to die, we know there's going to be a mess inside. We don't know. We just have a sense of what's going to happen and what we should do. But everybody knows that the Palestinian Authority have no future. Maybe to short time if someone will lead it, but right now the Hamas is taking control and is going to take control as they did in Gaza. The last thing, and then we open to question. Do you have time for one more last thing? Do you have time for 5 more minutes? Yes, sir. Okay. I started with personal story, and I will finish with personal story. I told you that I injured 3 times. The last time, it was when I was a company commander. I was training with my soldier in the north area of Judea and Samaria. So I got information that there is a terrorist from the intelligence unit told me that doing his way to one of the army bases somewhere. And since I was very experienced already in terror in Gaza, it was after I injured in Gaza, for me, one terrorist, it was nothing. Okay, take a soldier, say, okay, get ready, we will find this terrorist. And then I told to my soldier, I hope that we just go back to time before dinner. Because it's just one terrorist, what can he do? And we are so experienced about fighting against terror. And now when we were trying to get ready, I heard the voices of her shooting in a village not so far away from me, this village called Hamra. It's in the Jordan Valley. So I took my soldier and I said, I recognize the noise. It's not M16. So what is it? I took my soldier and I drove there. And when I got into the village, I asked the soldier that was in the gate, what's going on? Told me, I think that there is a shooting outside of the village, inside to the village. So I took my soldiers and we got to the special point that I thought that that's where the terrorists are. And we all was like kneeling, looking there. I said, okay, we will shoot and we will try to see where he's shooting. And then we will find him. It's out of the village. There is a fence between us and him. And we start to shoot. And the first shot, someone shot us from behind, from the village, 2-3 meters. I don't understand. How can someone shoot me for the Jewish village and the terrorist is outside? I looked back and I saw a soldier with uniform. I said, how can it be? Maybe it's a friendly fire. And the soldier shot us and ran into the village. And one of my soldiers told me, listen, I hurt in the back. I got a shot in the back. I tried to stand and to ask the soldier to run after him. What are you doing? Why are you shooting us? And I felt again and again and again. I look at my shoes and I said that all of my shoes are just open like that. And I understand that I shoot in my foot. But I still thought that this is a friendly fire. And then I heard a scream, but a very bad scream. And then I understood something wrong has happened. This terrorist, he was officer in the PA. He got into the village, he smuggled into the village, infiltrated into the village, and he found a mom in a balcony waiting to her husband to come back from work, and her daughter, disabled the daughter in a wheelchair. He shot both of them and grabbed them into the house and locked himself. I was crawling, trying to stand and crawling, and then I recognized where the scream coming from. I stand, leaned on the window, I saw the terrorist there, I shot him from the window, and then all of the soldiers came and all of my commanders and all of the medical assistants, and they took me, and they were still alive, in a helicopter to a hospital in Jerusalem. I lost my conscience on the way because I lost a lot of blood. And as I was just wake up, I opened my eyes and I saw my dad like looking at me like that. And I asked him, what about the mom and the daughter? So he told me, unfortunately, they died. And I felt a big responsible for that. So I still was in the hospital, and 2 weeks later, my commanders decided to take me to the same place to learn, to make a rebriefing about what happened, to learn where you've been, where he's been, to understand what happened there. So it was at night, I was in a wheelchair, taking me in a wheelchair in this village, and then the dad came, and he saw me, and he asked me, are you the commander of the soldier? I said, yes. He said, it's your fault, you didn't come in time. And I took it very, very hard. And at this point, I decided that I'm not going back to the army. I'm not going back to the army because it's my responsibility. I haven't been in time. How can I lead soldier? And I told to my battalion commander, listen, I'm not going to stay in the army. After I will recover, I'm going out. I'm not good enough to be a commander. So he came to my house time after time when I was recovering, saying, that's not your fault. We make the rebriefing. You're fine. I say, sorry for my French. Don't bullshit me. I know that it's my fault. So he told me, you know what? I want to give you one more chance to decide. Take a 1 week. There is a delegation that's going to Poland that learn about the Holocaust. After we will come back, you decide what you want to do, to stay in the army or to leave. So fly to Europe to 50 officers with the uniform, with the Israeli flag, and walking in Poland, in the camps. Of course, it was horrible. And then the commander of the delegation said, listen, we are going to fly to one more place, to Italy, to the north of Italy. I said, why? There is a place called Fina Fagiana in the north of Italy. There was a Jewish battalion in World War II that was fighting against the Nazis under the British Army. We want to go there to learn about what happened. For most of us, it was first time in Italy, so people was just thinking about pizza and pasta, but they say, okay, from Poland to Italy, that's a good switch. So we fly to Italy, we land there, took a bus to the Fina Fagiana, and as we was walking as a group of officer to the place, old men start to walk next to us, look at us and said, are you a Jewish? Said, yes. No. Are you at the IDF? Yes, we are. And he sat on the ground and started to cry, but a real cry. So we tried to help him and say, okay, stand up, what's going on? And then his sadness turned to anger. And he started to shout on us, why you didn't come in time? Why you didn't come in time? What are you talking about? My entire family vanished in Poland. If you were just coming in time, they were still alive. How could we come in time? And he moved after that to Italy. How could we come in time? There was no Israel. There was no IDF. There was no one to protect the Jewish people wherever they are. I came back to Israel and decided to go back to the army. 10 months later, I'm again training with my soldier in the north of Judea and Samaria. And unbelievable. Again, my commander telling me there is a terrorist doing his way not so far away from where I injured, to another village. 4 a.m. in the morning. You can just imagine what's going in my mind. Again, I just recover. Again, terrorists going to a Jewish village, that's not going to happen again. That's not going to happen again. On my way there, I was just praying to God to help me this time, because the last time I was just going with my account of my abilities. I didn't thought about God. But this time I told God, you are the only one that can help me in that problem right now. If you are not with me, no one will be with me. I was going 4 a.m., high bushes, next to this village. It's called Pkaot. And I was hearing the microphone say to the people, 4 a.m. in the morning, don't go out, there is a terrorist. Just try to imagine, what if there were like police car with drive here 4 a.m. and say, don't go out, there is terrorists all around. Crazy. And I knew that what's going inside, that people are terrified. We were walking in the bushes, and in 1 minute I found myself face to face with this terrorist. Again, officer in the PA, and I shot him, and he died. I went back to the village, tried to gather all of my soldiers. It was almost like 6 a.m. in the morning, 7 a.m. After everything was over, stand in front of them, and I asked them, see that everything is right, or you have your magazine, your weapon. And then I felt someone touch me in the shoulder. I looked back and I saw a woman holding a baby. She came with a bag of candies to the soldier and said, are you the commander of the soldiers? I said, yes. She said, thank you. You came just in time. And when I heard these words, for me it was like someone slapped me. You came just in time. Why you didn't come in time? And I said to myself, of course we came in time. Because now we have the IDF. Now we have our land. Yes, there is a problem, there is a problem in Israel of terror attacks. But you know what? For me, personally, this is a problem that I can hug. Because my grand-grandpa in Spain was killed because he was Jew. My grand-grandma in Spain, his wife, was kidnapping because she was a Jew. Entire communities of Jewish all over the world, all over the world. If there was a rioters that just want to come and to kill them, like a wave, just like a wave. Nobody can protect them. But now there's the IDF. Now we can protect our people. Now we are then to stand between the terrorists and the Jewish people. Sometimes if there is a woman coming to the rabbi and say, I have a problem with my son, he broke the window at school, my daughter don't want to talk with me, she just locked herself in the room, and the young one, the other one crying, he say, you want to hear about real problem? Your neighbor have no kids. That's a real problem. So there was a time that we have no country, no land, no army. That was the biggest problem. Now, thanks God, we have Israel. Thanks God, we have the IDF to protect these people, to lead this nation to a better future. And I hope for both sides, Palestinians and Israelis, that peace will come from both of the sides, because peace is the future, not a war. Thank you for listening.
Da blir det mulig med spørsmål. Så har jeg en trådløs mikrofon her som jeg kan gå rundt med. Så er det bare å rekke opp hånden, så kommer jeg rundt. Så er det noen som har spørsmål, så er tiden inne for å melde seg. Edvard?
Hello, my name is Edward.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you. I would like to ask you, what is the maximum punishment for terrorism in Israel? In Norway, we increased this limit from 21 years to 30 years. And of course, you have complications if the defendant is insane, psychiatric cases and so on. but that's too difficult to take care.
Yeah. This is a very good question, because I was in the parliament member 2 weeks ago. We were discussing about the punishment to the terrorists that throwing a Molotov cocktails and rocks and stones on a vehicle, driving in the road. In all of the area of Judea and Samaria, almost 5,000 rocks throwing every year on our cars that doing their way there. And about 10 years ago, I was doing my way to Tel Aviv at night to the marathon in Tel Aviv. So the mayor of Tel Aviv invited me, because I was doing all the full marathon, for a dinner, special dinner with the mayor. Before marathon, you eat like a special food. And I was doing my way, road number 5, a very big highway. I saw a car under a truck. And I thought that this is an accident. But it looked like a very old accident. But I said, okay, I will just pull over my car and try to see what's going on. I have a picture here, I can show you that. So I was looking at the car, and like most of the car was under the truck, and just that's the backside was outside. And I saw 2 daughters there. So I broke the window, I took them out, and I was sure that the guy who is in the front didn't survive that. In the front there was a mom. Her name is Adva Biton, Dr. Adva Biton. She was teaching in the University of Ariel, and her daughter, 1 year old, Adele Biton. And when they took her to the hospital, I don't know, like miracle, the mom was still alive and conscious. She said that Palestinian was throwing rocks on her car, so she lost her ability to drive, and she hit a truck. By the way, her daughter died. Her young daughter died. So right now, for example, to answer your question, 70% of the people that's even throwing rocks, nobody going to arrest them. Nobody going to arrest them. You know why? Because our problem in Israel, and I say a problem, it's not only a problem. One of our problems in Israel, it's the court. The court is not punishing the people that are doing terror, not punishing enough. So when the police and the army know that they will arrest them, put them in jail, investigate them, and then going to the court will release him and say, no, you're just 15 years old. No, this is only his first time. It's just a rock, it's not a weapon. So why should we arrest him? And the other cases, 30% of the cases that it hit cars and someone injured, they're going to the court, and they are usually, you can see that in the website, there is a statistic about it, it's published, around 2 months to 3 months in jail. 2 months, 3 months in jail. That's insane. That's insane. What if you was driving in this road here, and you're just, like every month, like 250 for months rocks, someone was throwing, the police wasn't there, the court wasn't. By the way, in Israel, one time there was someone in the court, not a terrorist, just a citizen. He took his shoe and he threw it on the judge. You know how many years he was in the jail? Exactly 3 years. 3 years. So, and the terrorists, when they get in jail, they know that one day we will release them. Why? Because the Hamas and the PA trying to kidnap soldier or citizen. That was the main idea of the under tunnel. Let's dig another tunnel, kidnap a soldier again. Gilad Shalit, our soldier, 1,000 terrorists released for jail for Gilad Shalit. 73% of them back to terror. 73% back to terror. So this is their hope. And just if someone's shooting or whatever, usually they're not punishing him enough, unfortunately. And of course, if the PA took him to the court, most of the cases he's out. Any other questions?
Ja, det noen spørsmål, så
I'll try to make it short. Moses from Israel. They say it's apartheid in Israel. Everyone talks about apartheid in Israel. It's definitely apartheid in Israel, but it's against the Jews. It's an unbelievable anti-Semite apartheid in Israel against the Jews. And as an expert, I'm dealing with it I've been in the army myself for 5 years or so. And I'm dealing with this stuff day and night for years and years and years. Sometimes they even let me talk. I don't think there is any way we're going to go out of this. There is no way, there is no scenario we're going to go out of this problem. You call it Islam, you call it whatever. Peace does not exist there. They have peace. They want peace, but Hitler peace without Jews. This is what, I mean, the schools that you're talking about, they grow Hitler, they're Hitler-Jürgen. They grow small Nazis, and we will get it in our face in a few years. And we already get it with the German money. And you see, Germany again, they did not finish with us. I mean, Second World War was finished 70 years ago in Europe. In Israel, it still continue. My question to you is, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because the frustration that we cannot find terrorists will make us fight against ourselves, and that's what we do. We fight against ourselves now, because we can't fight with the terrorists. It's not allowed. It's not nice. So we will fight against ourselves. Tell me, what are we going to do? And you talked about coming not too late, and be there in time, and not to be too late. I think we're going to lose the country if we don't do something drastic and soon. Just to be optimistic. Thank you.
Thank you. So, one of the biggest mistakes is people usually don't define right the difference between racism and culture. Racism is when you think that someone born with that. Culture is when you think that someone born into that. I don't believe it's racism at all. But unfortunately, people, Arabic, born into a culture, and I don't know talk even about terror, that encourage violence. For us, as a Western people, that in a Western culture, it's very hard to understand that. We try to judge them from the eyes of their culture, from the eyes of their culture. But when they try to solve problem in their community, in their family, it's with violence. If there a problem, any problem with two families, they're solving with violence. When they have a problem between the Fatah and the Hamas, the two groups of the Palestinians, they solve it with violence. And we try sometimes to think maybe they want a democratic leaders like us. That is one of the biggest problems that was in the United States. They went to Iraq and they're willing to democrat. The Iraqis, they suffer under Saddam Hussein. They're willing to democrat. They went to Afghanistan and say, so just waited to us all of the years because they were suffering. They're willing for Western thoughts, for a democrat. All the time they try to think that maybe they see the future, their future, like we see the future. But as I said when I started, this is a fight between two cultures. Two cultures. We wish that we will be different. We wish them not to live in violence. We don't want 8% of the budget of Israel per year is going to the army. Why? Why can't we invest it in education, for more high tech, for helping other people? No one wants that. No one wants to invest so much money in fighting. But that's what they see. So, and I try to answer to your question. So of course, first of all, there is none kind of thing that apartheid. Just one example. If there was apartheid in Israel, if there was an option to Arabic to be a prime minister, if there is apartheid somewhere, it means that someone have no rights like the other. If this guy that was talking about the Shaheed want to be the prime minister, and enough people will choose him, he will be the prime minister. Nothing can stop him. He has the same rights, the same option to do what any Israeli do whenever, and however he wants. As any other Arabic, wherever. To be a doctor in a hospital or to be a prime minister. That's the first thing. Second thing, now the biggest, and I think that is the biggest fear right now of the Israelis, we see two things that now is going on. First, the Iranian. The Iranian, again, how poor their people? Starving. I don't know how much you know about Iran. Like 30% are starving in Iran. They invest money in nuclear weapon. They're willing to have a nuclear weapon, and they say that loud and clear. The Israeli state should not be exist anymore. And we know how many operations our Mossad was doing there, and we brought all of the CDs to show that they want to attack us. And they I don't know if you know that. Sorry that I'm keeping saying that because I'm involved more in the security things. Iran have 6 armies around the world. 6 armies. The Hamas is the army of Iran. The Hezbollah is the army of Iran. There is like kind of coalition of soldiers of Iranian in Syria. Yemen have army of Iran. In Sinai, there is army of Iran. You know, the border between Sinai to Israel is the weirdest border in the world. Only border in the world that the other country with the back, the face to their country and to the back to the other. Did you ever saw a border like that? Only if you go to the border with Egypt, you will see that the position with the face to Egypt and the back to Israel, because they know that we were going to do nothing. They're afraid from the Iranian in Sinai, because they're killing them time after time. Every bus that's going to the position, that's reaching the soldier, they're taking them. And in South America, they building an army for just to keep all of the areas that they're growing with, and they sell it all over the world to have money. And that's what they plan to do. So first is Iran, and we know that they're just waiting. For them, ceasefire is the time to have more and more power. They're waiting to the day that they will shoot rockets from Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran in the same time. Now we have the protective age, you know, we had the Iron Dome, sorry. Maybe you heard about the Iron Dome, the system that shoot all, but the Iron Dome is at 90%. So if they shoot right now from Lebanon, there are from Gaza, 10,000 rockets, correct to Israel. From Lebanon, 100,000 rockets, and from Iran, I don't know how many. So 90% will hit in the air, but 10% going to fall in Israel. And at the same time, the other line, 5 months ago, there was a riots in Israel. The Arabs, it's not the Palestinians, the Arab citizens in Israel, doctors, hospitals manager actually, one guy, and many other people, like in the mixed city, all of them started attacking Jews wherever they could find someone. Wherever they could find someone. I can show you a movie of me doing my way to my car. I was parking in Jerusalem. I was for 2 years the manager of the city of David in Jerusalem. Very special place. If you're coming to Israel, go to visit there. It's a very all the people of the kingdom of King David. And 10 hours were attacking me. Thanks God, they didn't know that I come from undercover, from special elite unit, so I know to fight even against 10 Arabs, so nothing happened to me. They didn't attack the right guy, but they did it all over Israel. So what will happen if one day, and that's what they're planning, rockets from all over, and the other side, the Arabics, the citizen of Israel, will block the roads, as they did in some of the roads, not let us send off all of our units to the north, to the border of Hezbollah, and to the south, for the border in Gaza, and we will need to deal in a war inside and outside. That's the better thing that can happen. It's a very big problem. You know, we know that's what they plan. We actually believe we have some sign that it's going to happen maybe around April, May, because that's the Ramadan time. And the Ramadan time, usually that's the time that all of this is happen. And some of my soldier, we have, I adopting a guy from United States that he joined to the army, to the IDF, he's a Jew. And he told me like yesterday that they took his phone. Why? If the army taking your phone, it's just a sign that something's going to happen because maybe you're going to get into a war going to start. So it's just getting ready. It was just a practice. We all believe that something was going to happen in April, May. I don't know. But I hope not, because we are not ready. Any other question?
Så har jeg mikrofonen her, hvis det noen flere spørsmål. Hvis ikke så... Ja, vær så god.
Hi, my name is Lars Thorsen. I'm wondering about the level of competence on Islam among the politicians. Because as you showed us, this Muslim politician, he's talking about Shahada, and what he is saying in your parliament is exactly what the Quran says, and exactly what chapter 9, verse 111, and the Prophet said the same.
Exactly.
So obviously, this Muslim is a good Muslim, and he's a threat to your society, and still you let him run his business in your parliament. So that makes me wonder, what does the other members, the Jewish members, know about Islam? Because I'm watching the way the politicians are dealing with this Islam problem is, well, it's not sufficient. And when I talk to Jews in Norway, most of them have no idea about Islam. And in my opinion, you have an Islam problem. You call it the culture collision, but their culture is called Islam. And so that's why I'm wondering, because when we after the Oslo Accords in '94, Yasser Arafat was criticized by Muslims in Johannesburg because he made this deal with Israel. And then he explained, laughing, that this was in accordance with the Prophet's example at Hudaybiyah 628. Yeah. The question is, do your politicians know anything at all about Islam? Because you can't solve this problem without knowledge.
Well, I think that you explained it very well, and you're very well known about the problem. I think that one of the main things that first of all, now we have a coalition that some of the parties are Jewish parties and one party that is Islamic party. But in the Islamic parties, there's two kinds of parties. There is one party that says we should always fight, and there is a party that says that ceasefire is opportunity to a better fight. So right now, we need to be part of the coalition. So in the same day that they become part of the coalition, they got $52.3 billion shekel, for the Arabic. That's good. I think that the Arabic should have money and to improve their life. That's fine. But they took this money to places that are not helping to the Arabs. Why? Because for them, this is a big opportunity to be stronger. So, politician want to survive on his chair. So the people that in this coalition say, okay, we understand, we know, but maybe will something change. Maybe they will learn from the past. Maybe there is a hope. We will keep giving them money. I'm not the charge of the mindset of everyone, only of myself. I'm responsible only for myself. But unfortunately, sometimes you just learn after hit, after hit, and after hit. And maybe that's a good thing that happened, that in this coalition there is Arabic party, because that will make all of the Israelis understand that even when you're doing that, you're taking Arabic party at the coalition. If they leave, the coalition is left, because that's more than 50%. The Israelis will face with the truth. Faced with that even we give them whatever they want, they're not willing to peace. Unfortunately, I wish that they were willing to peace. I wish that I could live with them as a neighbor. And people just, there is a hope and there is reality. It's you need to balance your life to see where you live. You need to live in the reality and to hope for something, not to live in the hope and to pray that the reality will be matched to your hopes.
Hello, my name is Aril. I was, I'm a little shaky, but you mentioned the tunnels. Are they still a problem? No. And what are IDF doing about them? And you also mentioned Egypt, the border. That's quite interesting, actually. Why not Egypt is opening? And how much resources do the Egypt use on the border to keep it closed? And also, the media in Norway, you are not responsible for that. But it seems that they are not, the mainstream media in Norway, are not telling the whole story when it comes to conflict in Palestinian, Israel, Middle East. And is there something that IDF can do about their communication to get the message out? In what way they make war, for example. When they attack places, I heard that they deal out flyers in front because they don't want to have people around to risk civilians. But I don't think that message is received in the world. What one can you or we do about that?
Thank you for your question. First of all, short about the tunnels. The tunnels actually started in the 80s. They start to dig the tunnels to infiltrate and to smuggle things actually into Gaza from Egypt. So they start with smuggling cigarette, part of cars, lion to the zoo, unfortunately, and a lot of women from Ukraine and from Russia to their people for bad reasons, as you can imagine. And by the time they build more and more and more tunnels, and I believe that it's not like that in Norway, but I saw that many times in Israel. When you're not dealing with crimes, we say that the root of the crimes, just like making a new way for the terror. The terror usually the root of the crimes. So the terrorists understood, wow, there is a tunnels, they can smuggle whatever they want. Why won't we use it for terror activity? So they started to dig some of the tunnels into IDF position. And as you know, Gilad Shalit, the soldier, he was kidnapped after one of the tunnels opened, tunnel muzzle opened, and they took him back and ran into Gaza. And then they understood something interesting. They understood that if they want to get a strategic abilities, a strategic point against Israel, if Israel willing to pay 1,000 1,000 prisoners, terrorists, for one soldier, wow, we have a lot in our pocket. Tunnel, that's the solution. Something funny I will tell you. When I was an operation officer, one day, it was Sunday, I was in a meeting with my commander, and like very big brigadier, and then he was looking for his red phone. Red phone is the phone that you can speak and say a secret thing. So you should not lose it. If you lose it, it's a big problem. And he didn't find it. So he said, okay, hold the meeting. A lot of officers around. He called to his driver. He said, did you see my phone, my red phone? It's black, but we call it a red phone. He said, no, I didn't. So he called to his house. Speaker, one of the officers. His wife answered. He said, did you saw my special phone? She said, yeah, I saw our son was playing with that this morning. I want to talk with him. So he told his son, 9 years old, where is my phone? He said, I hide it. You hide it? I want it back. No, Dad. If you want it back, I want you to buy me special car with remote. I'm not going to buy that to you. So you don't get the phone. So they start to negotiate about the phone. 9 years old, his father, the brigadier, about the phone. Because the kid was holding something crucial for his dad. So he have the power. The terror understood that the tunnels can bring them the power, because after Gilad Shalit, they started to dig all of the tunnels. You know where? To the villages. When in the protective edge operation, I saw a tunnel that opened in a kindergarten. Just now think about it. What if a tunnel's model opened in a kindergarten and they take one kid and his teacher? What would Israel will do? Where we will bomb? How many prisoners we will pay terrorists for the kid and his teacher? They understood that. And they invest all of the money in tunnels. So Israel decided to build a special wall underground. By the way, one interesting thing, you have to hear that. You know what the Egyptians did with the tunnel that was crossing from Gaza to Egypt? They didn't invest money. They just dig a tunnel, another tunnel, from the sea, and they flood all of the tunnel. It's very cheaper, but you know what was the problem? All of the underground water that in the south area of Gaza that they were drinking was soiled. So they had no water to drink. The Egyptians didn't care. They're Egyptian. In Rafiah, was an Egyptian city. Soiled all of the water. And then we saw in the news, maybe all of you, people going with jars to the center of Gaza to take water. And who they blame? Israel. The siege of Israel. They didn't say in the news that the Egyptians flooded all of the tunnels, they soiled the underground water. That's why they don't have water. So Israel invested, because we didn't want to flood the tunnels, invest $3.5 billion to build underground wall with a lot of electricity, electronic things, so they can find the tunnel if someone dig. And right now, 45-meter underground, all of Gaza, except of the border with Egypt, that is the only place that open, is surrounded by underground wall, heavy wall. So there's no tunnel right now. But you know, the terror always surprised. I don't know what they try to do. Maybe try to go deeper. Maybe try to do something from above. Second thing about the media. I work as well as a military commentator of Channel 14 in Israel. All of the media belong to someone. It's owner of someone. Someone that have opinion. Even when I work, it's more in the right wing. So I want to represent more ideas. I understand that. I'm trying all the time to keep the middle. And I say that to him when he hired me. But he will try to push more right-wing ideas. But all of the others in Israel, 4 other channels, belong to someone from the left wing. So usually what you will hear is a left-wing opinion. And he will not show the other opinions. So we don't have like every media that you see, every channel is actually, it's like a microphone of someone that is trying to push, to elevate his ideas. That's the answer for a question, why you don't hear all of the truth. So you know what you should do? Learn the truth. Read it. Ask questions. I mean, I say that to students all the time. You have the right to ask questions. Nobody stops you from asking a question. Try to hear the opportunity from here, opportunity from there, and in your mind to decide. But just don't follow just what you see. Don't follow just one news. Because then you are just like closing your eyes and follow someone's microphone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give a big round of applause for Yaron. Det var hyggelig å kunne samles igjen. Jeg tror dere har hatt en interessant kveld. Så det er jo med Israel for freds lokallag i Oslo som samles. Hvis det er noen som ikke har vært med på det før, så samles vi normalt sett da, en gang i måneden. Så vi håper vi kan komme i gang igjen med det nå. Er du ikke medlem av MIFF, så vil jeg oppfordre om å gå inn på miff.no og trykke på bli medlem. Det er en glimrende mulighet til det er den beste måten å støtte Israel på i Norge. For da når man ut til brede lag av befolkningen, fordi vi er en livssynsnøytral og partipolitisk nøytral organisasjon som samler venner av Israel på et veldig bredt spekter. Det er viktig å påpeke. Så da kommer det, men vi sender jo